Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever place you're watching, depending on the time you get to watch this video. Thank you so much for those of you joining in for the very first time. My good name is Anne Munaji, and I am so happy and excited to see you here on my YouTube channel. For those of you that are coming back for the second time, third, fourth, those that have been here for the last 1 year, the last 2 years, thank you very much for sticking with me. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for sharing my videos. Those that are just joining in, please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And most importantly, it will be nice for you to just watch from the start to the end so that you get to know why I'm doing YouTube and why I'm choosing to just talk about what I'm going to talk about today. As the title suggests, we are going to talk about things everyone that is intending to get married should talk about. I made a similar video 3 years ago when I was just new, in marriage, with the information I had and what I just felt was right for me to share. But now, 3 years down the line, I feel like I felt like I needed to redo this video with this time, not to correct anything that I said on my other videos, no. So this time, I'm not just speaking from information or things I've heard or those that I've, learned on the premarital counseling. This time I am speaking from a broader, deeper perspective, full of understanding, because it's coming from somewhere. Lived in experiences. Of course, I'm not going to touch on anything to do with my personal life. I'm just going to make it a general video for us to learn. So if you are desiring marriage, if you are in your courtship season, if you're just out there and you're watching me and you feel like I need to understand this thing, of course you're going to understand it better when you're inside. It's different when you just get to hear of these things from your premarital counselor, from your church, from your pastor, from your parents, from your friends. It's different when you now live, you get to understand things from a broader perspective. So this video is just meant for anyone that is desiring to enter marriage. I know it's not going to give you the experience you need, but it's going to shape you as you prepare to enter marriage. So stay with me, stick with me till the end. I hope I make this video as informative as possible for you. I think even on my time, there were things that I got informed of that were helpful, even as I got to transition into becoming a wife and getting to live with a husband. Yeah, so karibu sana. Please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. Before we get to the topic, please understand that we have been brought up differently. There are certain traits that you have picked from your background, where you came from, and it's not the same as that of your partner. There's how your partner communicates in their home. There's how they've been brought up. There's a style they have picked, and it is not the same as yours. Your backgrounds are totally different. Ensure you talk about that. It is the core fundamental principle that guides our marriages. The first is God. The second is background. Trust me, the way we talk, the way we sleep, the way we eat, the way we act, everything revolves around where we have grown up from. The traumas we've had to endure. These are things you should talk about. Let your partner understand everything to do with your trauma, what you're struggling with, what you have gone through, how you're handling, the things that haven't been so well with your upbringing, so that you do not take the same energy to your marriages. Very important thing that we are emphasizing right now as counselors and psychologists and even pastors. Make sure that you have healed your wounds before getting married. Heal your childhood wounds, heal the wounds that you've picked in your former relationships. Heal those wounds. Make sure you're not going to bleed on someone that did not cause you harm. Do not go to, do not project those wounds on your husband or wife. Deal with them before getting married. We call them unfinished businesses in counseling psychology. So deal with your unfinished business. If it is going to counseling, ensure that you seek counseling, professional counseling. If it is seeing a pastor, ensure you do that. If it is just do whatever you can to ensure that there is healing before marriage. There are many other things you're going to face in your marriages, and you do not want to combine all of them together. Marriage itself has wounds, so please heal the ones that you've had to endure before marriage first. Work on your unfinished businesses. Work on your background, especially things that you feel would affect a beautiful marriage that you want to create. Work on your belief system, the things you believe, and that doesn't necessarily mean those things are good. They might be negative, so deal with them, please. Amos chapter 3 verse 3 reminds us that two cannot walk together unless they agree. Yes, and with that, we are going to talk about religion and faith. And believe you me, it's more than we believe the same. No, it's more than that. The very basic questions we ask each other before marriage is, do we believe in the same faith? Do we believe in the scriptures that talk about, how do we interpret scriptures that talk about marriage? Do we have the same understanding? Are we going to walk in the same direction? Those are the fundamental questions we ask each other. Are we going to attend the same church? Yes. As you enter marriage and begin to experience, you get to understand that faith is more than just labels. It's about the beliefs, the values, how you practice it. You get to see how some seasons are full of prayers and some are full of questions. You get to see how your faith can grow, how it can change, how it can be tested. You get to see how different it is for you and your partner to relate with God. Trust me, it's not the same. It's not the same. And some of the most important things for you and your partner to talk about before marriage when it comes to faith and religion is how your faith influences your decision making, how to handle spiritual disagreements, whether faith is a personal journey or a shared, discipline. These are things you need to really talk about, because when life is tested, one of the things that when you get to experience life in marriage, one of the things that get tested first is your faith. Your faith in God. If you look around or listen to couples giving their marital stories, you will not miss to find a statement on faith. Especially for us Christians, you'll hear, my faith was really tested on this. We were going through this. I was going through this. My husband, this happened to my husband. This happened to my wife. It is very important for you to just let your partner experience that growth, that change. as they figure out their faith, in God in those different seasons of marriage. Many times, we tend to forget that as much as this is a shared discipline, it is also a personal journey. There is where we connect together with God, and there is also where I connect with God at a personal level, and He also connects with God at a personal level. So when this change is happening and when this growth is happening, allow the space for him or her to experience that. All you can do is support. And there's also something that sometimes you meet a partner that is not born again, or they are not as strong as you are when it comes to, relating with God. Do not lie to yourself that you're going to change this person. That when we get married, I am going to ensure that this person changes and grows closer to God. Or you're not sharing the same faith, but you feel like once we get married, I am going to transform this person to join me on this other side. You cannot change anyone. You cannot change anyone. Agree before marriage that this is the foundation. Our foundation is Christ. These are the fundamental principles of what God would love from us. How can we please Him together? You cannot change anyone. God is the only one that changes people. Do not make a mistake of lying to yourself that you are going to be the one to transform this person from the life they're living to the life you would want. No. So if you cannot agree on the same faith, if you cannot agree on the fundamental key principles of marriage ordained by God, do not proceed. Do not proceed. The second thing that we are going to talk about is finances. Money. Finances and money. Trust me, guys, it's just never about money. It's way deeper than that. Money is one of those topics that seems simple until you're actually, like sharing life. The most common questions we always have, those that I also had between me and my husband now, is who earns what, how will we cost share the bills, who will do what. It was just about whether we are going to have shared or joint bank accounts, especially those three questions: who will pay what you earn, and the sharing accounts. And marriage will introduce unexpected pressure. Marriage will introduce unexpected financial expenses, things that you did not prepare for. You'll see how emotional reaction is different to lack, or financial abundance or lack. You and your partner you just don't know it yet, but you have different personalities towards money. Money will reveal fear. It will reveal control. It will reveal trust, responsibility, and communication patterns. It is important for you to talk how transparency looks like, what to do when plans fail. I'm advising you, before you get married, talk about how decisions are made, how financial stress should be handled, especially emotionally. Please ensure you talk about these things, because money problems are rarely about numbers. They are about communications and trust. They're about communication and unity. So ensure you talk about money. Talk about those things I have mentioned above. So what I'm going to talk about as number 3 is important, not just in marriage, but in friendships. It is something that if we all lack, then we cannot succeed in all the relationships we have, be it marriage, be it friendships, be it in a working environment. Communication. You need it everywhere. And most importantly, you need it in marriage. I think the number 1 cause of divorce is communication. Communication in marriage goes beyond talking. I know many couples say, we communicate well, we have, a healthy communication relationship, but it goes beyond talking in marriage. It's way more than that. Marriage teaches you that people process emotions differently, that silence is can mean different things, that tone matters as important as words. Marriage teaches you that timing matters as much as truth. So important things for you to talk about in terms of communication before you guys get married. I have 4 things, and one of them is actually, before what you should talk about, learn to practice listening more than talking. Listening to understand. Ask your partner how they would love to handle conflict. Give examples of different scenarios depending on what you would want, how you'd want your marriage to look like. If this and this happened, how do you think you can handle this? How do you think this should be handled? Talk about what it means for you to be listened to. What being listened to would look like for you. So talk about different ways on how you're going to repair in case they happen. Trust me, they do help, because when it happens in marriage, you go back to what you had talked about before marriage. But we agreed on this and this. Of course, you must extend grace because people change, people grow. Marriage is different, and the things you get to experience in there are things you have not rehearsed. So as much as you will go back to, this will just be a manual that you guys have prepared for yourselves, because remember, there is no manual. No one is giving you the correct format on how to do things. You're going there to learn on your own. Of course, there are things you'll be taught on premarital counseling. You'll be taught, conflict resolution. You'll be taught these things, but now experiencing them is very different from the things you've heard or learned from someone else's experience. So talk about conflict, how to handle conflict, how to manage emotions when they rise up, how your partner would love to be treated in case there is a conflict. Are they the type that would want, to be left alone? Are they the type that would want to solve it there and there? There are people that will just want to get it done right there. They don't want to wait. But there are partners that would rather just, calm down, analyze before talking. So talk about those things. Let your partner know what healthy communication looks like to you. We've been brought up in different homes. We've gone through different things. We have different patterns. There are things we've picked from our parents. There are things we've picked from our siblings, from our caregivers. So it's different. We communicate differently, but in marriage, there's how we must communicate. There's how we must treat each other when it comes to communication. There's a tone your partner will not tolerate. There's a certain communicating style that will seem offensive to your partner. So talk about those things. So let's talk about children, the additional blessings we get from God. Marriage has been ordained by God, and it is fully full with just a husband and a wife. But God saw it good to extend these blessings by giving us children. And a few questions we ask ourselves before getting married is, how many children do we want? How do we want to raise these kids? How would you discipline, how the kind of discipline we would want to give those children? The schools we would want to take them, the kind of lifestyle we would want to give these kids. And it's a very beautiful conversation that must be talked about. Of course, there are couples that chose to not have children at all. There are those that prefer to have 10 kids, those that will be satisfied if they just have one. There are those that will want 5. You know, it's different. And it is good to talk and agree about them. What marriages do not prepare you for is the time. Times may shift, plans may change, expectations may need adjustment, and sometimes patience becomes necessary because things go according to how we have planned, and sometimes shock of life would now require you to be patient or have to adjust with the circumstances of life. You might have agreed to have kids by this time and this time, but then, and there are things that are out of your control. So that is where patience is mostly required from both partners. Bodies change, sometimes hormones take their course. I think when we talk about kids, we're just not talking about children. We're talking about family planning. We're talking about what happens in case things go south, yet we had planned, them to go north. Don't just talk about how many kids do we want. Talk about, what if we cannot sire children? What if I'm unable to give you 2 kids? What if I cannot give you 1 kid? Talk about how you're going to handle pressure from society and family. When you get married, the first things people want to look at is your stomach. Is it growing? I think on my first year, there was so much pressure, both from outside world and watu ndani, because I don't know why there's so much pressure about that topic. It's so sensitive, and I hope when you get to listen to this video, you get to at least adjust on your behaviors, especially if you're that kind of a person that would want to really pressure people to sire children. What you guys don't know, or what you guys don't understand, is there are things people go through in marriage. There are things couples cannot talk about. There are things that are bigger, way bigger than them. And there are decisions that they make that do not concern you. Whether people get children in marriage or not, that is none of your business. And I hope we get to just give people the grace they need. If people have not chosen to tell you or to open up to you about these things, just let it be. You don't have to comment, you don't have to talk, you don't have to ask. just give people, let people be, and on that, ensure you talk about how you go both going to handle societal and family pressure. Talk about the values you would want to pass on to your children. Talk about how discipline would look like to you. Would you want to pass on what you know as discipline to your kids? Is it healthy discipline? Is it going to impact the lives of your children negatively or positively? Talk about the changes that comes with children. If you've given birth, for women that have given birth, you know, for men that have seen their wives transition to go through this transition, you know how bodies change. We've seen how people go separate ways after children. And it's because both of them have to adjust to a certain lifestyle they're not used to. And to add on that, talk about sex. There are no children if there's no sex. We're talking about sex that we have been, sex that God Himself has given us the permission to do in marriage. What makes your partner feel good? What makes them feel satisfied? Talk about sex. The do's and don'ts of sex. Create your own law when it comes to sex. You don't have to follow that of your friend. You don't have to follow that of your best couple. You don't have to practice that one that you see on TV. Talk about what you guys are comfortable doing together. Talk about sex, guys. Mi nitakwambia, talk about sex. Sex is good, sex is beautiful when it's done with the right person, especially in marriage. So talk about what you guys would want to explore. Agree on these things together. We don't have to know about it, but you guys ensure that you're on the same page when it comes to sex. So as much as we're talking about how we're going to raise them, how we're going to discipline them, how we're going to train them spiritually, let us also remember that it's not just about the children we're going to get, it's about the support we are going to give one another when plans are altered. When we are unable to get those children in a span of the time we had set for ourselves, how are we going to support one another? How do we ensure we don't lose ourselves in the process of waiting? How do we ensure that we do not lose our sex lives in the process of, the discouragement that we have gotten from the plans that have been altered? Talk about these things. As much as we feel like these things cannot happen to us, we are just talking based on what if this and this happens. And of course, when we talk about kids, there is something important we cannot leave behind, and that is family planning. And family planning comes with hormonal effects. So when you want to start that topic of family planning, ensure you do not just make sure there is a professional included in that topic. And with this, I mean a gynecologist, someone that is highly experienced, someone that will help you understand your bodies, understand what will work for you, what doesn't work for you. Do not make these decisions on your own, so that you do not have, when the effects come, at least there's someone that is working with you, someone that walked with you from the start. And this person understands your body, they understand what to do in case this happens to your body. Do not make these decisions on your own, because our bodies are different, especially ladies. Some things we put on our bodies have lifetime effects. Some of them have, temporary effects, but all this can affect our marriages. So ensure that there's a professional that is included before you induce something on yourself. Before you introduce something to your body, make sure there's a professional that has tested and approved your body for a certain type of family planning. If you want to have it after 1 year of, after you've given birth, if you want to have it immediately, you get married because you want to enjoy your marriage first, talk to someone that is highly experienced in that area. One of the biggest lessons that marriage teaches is that marriage is not static, because people grow, people evolve, seasons change, and needs shift. So these are things that marriage teaches us. That leads us to the other thing we or you who is not married should talk about with your partner, and that is growth, change, and face. The phases of life, because they shift. The question should not be, will we change after we get married? Rather, what you guys should ask each other is, will we grow together? In case of change, in case there's a shift, in case there's an adjustment, are we able to grow together? Those of you that are married know that these conversations do not stop because we are married. They rather deepen and deepen and deepen. Ask those that are in their 30 years of marriage, they'll still tell you that they ask each other these questions. Not in a way, not the same. The questions are not as basic as they were when they were preparing for marriage, but these questions still deepen. So change happens. An example is when a man has to stay home because maybe they've lost their job, or because they're sick and the woman has to provide for the family. How are they both going to adjust to this change? Of course, we know men are to provide for their homes. We know women are to support their husbands. So what happens in a scenario where this man is unable to provide for their family? Do they lose their space in marriage? Do they lose their impact in marriage? Do they lose their position? Talk about these things. Talk about them. What happens when a woman is unable to offer the help that is needed in the home, the advices, sometimes life is vice versa. Today you're up there, tomorrow you're down here. So how are you guys going to support one another? In times of sicknesses, in times where you guys are at your lowest, how do you come through for one another? These are changes that we are talking about that leads to growth. Some things will catch you by surprise, and some things, if you go in prepared, then marriage is going to blossom. Whether you're going through a change that is affecting you negatively or positively, even if it's negative, and there was a foundation of what happens if this and this happens, then you guys can go back to what you talked about, and it's going to make it smooth. People leave each other, people divorce each other because of the shock that happens when life gets hard, when there are changes they have to face that they were not prepared for. What if you wake up today and your spouse was involved in an accident and they can no longer walk, or they can no longer talk, or you have to now become a caregiver for the rest of your lives? Are you prepared for such? Guys, I'll come back with a part 2. Sorry, my lights are off and my phone is also the battery is dying, so allow me to stop it at this. I'll come back with a part 2.